Yelena, how do you know Aleeza ben Shalom?
Okay, 4 years ago, around 4 years ago, I went on a trip to Israel with two other Atlanta girls. It was Deanie Cooper-Smith trip, the Reconnection Women's
Reconnection trip.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And she was on that trip, and
I was like one of the leaders, like one of the, you know, like be there to be support staff, give classes, and be a part of the program.
It was like love at first sight, and we stayed connected and through all the years. And
she came to Israel last year with the family, and they came to visit.
Wow!
We had fun with them in where do you know? Yes,
Pardes Chana.
Yes.
Wow!
And we met her family and her children, and my children, you know, hung out with her children. It was amazing. So now she's in Atlanta, and I'm so excited.
So amazing. Okay, here's my question. Have your professional lives crossed? Meaning, Yelena, you already were working in Hollywood, and then now all of a sudden you knew Aleeza, and now Aleeza gets on a Netflix show.
Yeah.
What was that? Was there any connection there?
So when I started to hear about the Netflix show and I was like, oh, this is going to happen, she was one of the first people I called. I'm like, hi, you know about TV and this stuff, and I don't so much. We started to look into, actually we're helping with, we needed to find fixers, people in Israel that were going to be able to do the Israel portion of this. And she was involved in helping us to try to make arrangements and look into things. And we're always kind of like where's going to be the intersection of our lives and where are we going to cross? So we're looking for ways to do that and to bridge the Hollywood gap.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about today, and we're going to get I want to hear all of your dreams. We'll get there. We're talking about Orthodox representation in Hollywood. And, you know, we have two religious women sitting in front of us that work in this industry. One is behind the camera and one is in front of the camera. So let's talk about what it's like being an Orthodox religious woman in this industry. What has your experience been? So Yelena, let's start with you and tell us a little bit about what you do as well.
Okay, I'll start with just like how we started our company, Film Tribe. Basically, I was more in marketing and branding and graphic design space, and my husband's been a producer for I don't want to say how many years because he's gonna kill me.
But you said it on your profile on Facebook.
Yeah,
by the way, if you do not follow Facebook Orthodoxy, you're gonna get all of the behind the scenes about Yelena. And I don't know if your husband approved that or not, but it got in that paragraph.
But he's been working in the film industry since he was 14 years old or 15 years old, because his aunt was a set decorator, set designer. And so he was going there after high school, and he was helping her on the set. So that's all he knows. That's all he's ever done. You know, so that's kind of like his space. And so we've been dreaming about starting our own production company for probably 2 decades. We just couldn't get all the ducks in a row, and that was kind of like my mission. And so I worked behind the scenes on getting us partners that would invest in us and believe in us. And so in 2015 we launched Film Tribe. Because I'm the only female in the group, we have 2 other partners there. So 3 male partners. Yes, 1 female partner, me and me. So naturally, I became the CEO. And so I always joke that, like, my husband works for me, even though he is the company, because he has all the experience, and I kind of come in bringing a lot of like the marketing and branding and sales and business development to the table. So that's basically, so what we do is we work really in the secular space. Like, we do not do a lot of Jewish content. The only Jewish content we do is more like Hesed work for the community, for nonprofit organizations that come to us, can ask for help. And so we do a handful of those every year, kind of like to give back to the community,
like pro bono type of things. Can you give an example about that?
Yeah. I mean, like, so we enjoy doing those. Those are like the best kinds of projects because we connect with our people. But in general, we do focus on branded marketing. So anything like the visual marketing for big brands. So, we work mainly with agencies, advertising agencies that come to us. They already have creative content that they have that they need produced. So that's one way that we get work is through agencies, and we work with national sales reps that go out there and sell us to the agencies. And the other way we get work is through, direct to client work, because we do have an internal ad agency that we started several years ago. So we can do that as well. So we can take it from conception, from conception to the finished product, because we also have an in-house post-production and VFX. So we can handle absolutely everything,
Wow.
So,
Are there do you know any other religious women who do the kind of work that you do?
So like in more of like a branded marketing work.
And film.
In film, right. So no, but there are several that work in the film and TV space that I do know, but we are a little bit more specialized. Even the work that we do for Netflix and all those streaming platforms, we do the sort of like their marketing content that they use to market their shows and movies. But we have started a film and TV division where we do develop our own content, because we do want to produce our own Jewish content.
Okay, so before we
my interview, yes, so that's like the next step.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Before we talk to Aleeza, just tell me, what is it like being a religious woman in this space for you? Yeah, Yelena.
Oh, me.
Yeah.
Well, just being a female in this space is like already, a unicorn. But to be a religious female in the film industry is interesting. But I find it fun, because every time I show up at a meeting or on set, everyone's like complimenting me on my hairdo, like, oh, you look different today. Your hair got really long over the past
overnight.
Because I don't conform to I need to have short hair all the time or long hair all the time.
Let's just clarify for those listening, she is wearing a wig.
I don't know.
Although it does not seem that way.
I'm wearing a wig, but they certainly confused about what's going on in my head. But for the most part, as I also mentioned in my interviews, that people do know that we're religious. I don't know that they know all the nuances of what religious people, supposed to look like. But if anyone compliments me on my hair, I always tell them it's a wig. I never be like, oh, thank you. I'm like, oh, it's a wig. It's an expensive wig. but yeah, I mean, there's definitely it's a little weird when we're on set and we, having a PA bring us sushi from Spicy Beach. It's like, why aren't we eating the same food that the entire crew is eating? And by the way, we did ask, Shaila about serving kosher food or not kosher food to the crew, as long as there's, no Jewish crew there, which for the most part, we don't tend to hire Jewish crew on non-Jewish content type of work. So generally speaking, there's little nuances that does affect, feel like I'm a little bit different than everybody else. But for the most part, I feel like I am, just a female in the film industry. Orthodox aspect of it doesn't really change a whole lot.
That's great. Yeah, that definitely came through your profile, that you're respected for it, and you stay strong to your values, and that's so beautiful. Okay, so Aleeza, you were picked to be in the show because you are a religious woman. Tell us what that experience was like. Just give us a little bit. We are so curious what that was like, representing Orthodox women with your shades on, because Signimas is on Netflix to the world, because we've never seen this before. We've never seen it before.
All right, I think this is a new thing, having an observant Jewish woman, a wife, a mother, with a family, really representing the Jewish people in a very positive, playful, fun, upbeat way. So for me, I think the whole process, I found it fascinating. First of all, I was thrilled that they were interested in an Orthodox matchmaker. At first, I actually didn't know. They were interviewing everybody. So I have lots of friends in the matchmaking industry, and we all knew something was happening. There were actually several different productions that were happening, and nobody knew which one was going to be the one to actually take off. And I was like, well, maybe they're going to pick somebody secular. Maybe they won't pick somebody who's observant for a show like this. And I was surprised that they chose somebody Orthodox. I was definitely surprised that they chose me. Wow. And it was really, I think, a really big blessing that I have this opportunity to be in front of the camera and in front of the world and share, who I am, my story, along with the Jewish matchmaking story.
Absolutely. And I heard you when you came to speak in Cleveland, and you shared that Netflix gave you kosher pots and pans when you were traveling to the remote places that didn't have kosher food. They really supported you and respected you for, you know, the traditions and customs that you keep.
Yeah, and I had a whole kosher suitcase. So it was clothing suitcase. I was away for over 2 weeks, usually 3 to 4 weeks. So I had 2 suitcases with clothes so I could change, you know, for every episode. And then I had a third suitcase. So they didn't just give the pots and pans. It was the suitcase with everything in it. We had to pay to get it on every flight that we were traveling on, an extra bag. And they really went out of their way to also provide either a hotel that had like a mini kitchenette or an Airbnb instead, so that I could just go in, cash to the kitchen, you know, order my Instacart food, get it directly to my house, or
Amazing.
vacation, and be set for the time that I was there. It was really, really special. They went out of their way. And we didn't film on Shabbos, nothing. Like if it was on a Friday, I'm like, listen, I got to end by, you know, whatever time. I need a few hours before Shabbos to get ready. They were extremely, extremely respectful. And also of all the Jewish holidays, they got me home before Purim. They made a special effort so that I could be with my husband and my kids, and that I wouldn't be out
Beautiful.
all around the world.
So I'm curious, Lisa, let's talk about the singles that you were working with on the show. I'm venturing to say that a number of them may not have met an Orthodox Jew before. Like, were you maybe some of their first exposures to an Orthodox from women?
I think so. You know, different people had spoken about, oh, somebody in my family might have been Orthodox, or maybe I go to Chabad, so I know some people there. But there were some people that had very little exposure to Orthodox people. And this was, and especially a very intimate, close relationship. Even if they knew somebody Orthodox, it wasn't like they had a relationship with them.
Right.
So this definitely some people's first time really connecting with somebody observant and somebody who was connected to their Judaism in a really consistent way.
Wow. So like, this is really, I think, just such like a positive experience for the people that you were working with, and also for the world, to show this very likable, warm, Orthodox woman, where up until this point, and let's talk about this now, up to this point on the screen, Orthodox representation has been very different. So what, like, Yelena, I'd love to hear from you. Like, how would you evaluate what the world is showing us on the screen in terms of who we are as Orthodox people up until Jewish matchmaking? Because I think Jewish matchmaking has really turned a corner in Orthodox representation.
Right. Let's see.
Yeah. What have you observed in terms of how we're seen on the screen?
I'll just chime in to say that I think that we've seen a lot of the struggles of the Orthodox community, and that's only one part of the story.
Right.
And we haven't seen the flip side.
So I think that, like, over the decades, there has been Jewish Orthodox content, like Fiddler in the Roof. Like it just kept coming back to that. And that was amazing. That was actually, like, we still watch it, you know, and that was a great representation. Was it over stylized? Sure. Was it like 100% accurate? No. But overall, it like left you feeling good about Jews and Jewish Orthodoxy and the whole thing. And it's like a classic. So I would like to see more of, like, yes, we go through struggles like any other religion and any other community, but like, why put it out there when there's already so much negativity surrounding this topic and us and anti-Semitism? Like, why do we need to put something out there that continuously fuels the anti-Semitism that we're experiencing right now? So for me, I feel like, yes, like stories that show struggles and the different nuances, and stories with, hard topics, they're important to tell. And I think that they're very, also, interesting to watch. It's like kind of like a little bit of a voyeurism, like a situation where like people want to see struggles and movies and shows that like show a lot of depth. But I think right now in this like space right now, we need to show more positive content about us and kind of be the light to the nations. Like, I feel like we need to put out good, warm, like nice feeling content, even for a while. But so I feel like there hasn't been a lot of that. I think Aleeza's show is a perfect example of what we should be doing. It was quirky and fun, and even though it wasn't showing like 100% Orthodox.
No, I love, and that's what I love about it. I love that you have an Orthodox person on the show doing something with people who are from all different backgrounds. It's incredible. And we saw really the spectrum of people who said, I've never even dated Jewish. This is my first time that I'm going to be dating Jewish. And people that say, I only date Jewish and I only date Orthodox. And there was everything in between. And I thought that that was something that was unique as well. You usually can't bring together and blend the Jewish communities. And specifically for this show, we were able to do that in a really positive, wonderful way.
Yeah, I just want to give a huge shout out to my friend Aleeza.
Thank you.
Because she was such Kiddush Hashem on that show. Yeah. Like every word that came out of her mouth was gold. Like everything that she said just like added a little star to us, you know, to the Orthodox jury, because everything was emes, everything was beautiful and truth. Thank you.
Teaching Judaism. She was like being.
She was literally like a teacher in the classroom.
Yeah.
This one, you know, like everything was so amazing and perfect. And like if we could have more of that, if we can have more of Aleeza, we would be so better off right now. Yes.
You know, there's this idea of being like a light unto the nations, and Aleeza got on the screen and she was that light. Like she was just showing the world our like Jewish heritage, and you were just such a role model. You were just being yourself. And that's why I love, like right after the show came out, I was looking on Twitter and seeing the whole, like all the response from the secular community. And they're like, we love Aleeza. And like, that's all they need to do. As long as they love you, we're good.
We do love.
Because, you know, sometimes people are not so likable on TV, you know?
Right. This girl is likable no matter where she is.
So, I mean, that's why I say you have star quality. That's why Netflix is like, we got her. Like, you're perfect. But, you know, it's interesting, Aleeza, you were talking about how, like, the show, you love the diversity. And by the way, somebody asked, are there different types of Orthodox? So I just want to address that now. Follow Faces of Orthodoxy. You will see every week a different type of Orthodox. So, yes, there's a lot of broad range, but there are a lot of universal, of course, values that you know, that keep us united in the sense that we follow the Torah. We follow the laws of the Torah. But anyway, so I think the Orthodox response to the show initially, people thought that this show was about Orthodox matchmaking, shidduchim as we call it. And then it was like they saw the trailer and they're like, this isn't about Orthodox matchmaking. This is about all of, you know, secular Jews and the Orthodox matchmaker. And then there was a little bit of judgment about that. But I think anyone who saw what you were doing, you just sort of have to have this mindset shift. Like, no, this is not about how the Orthodox meet, but it's about an Orthodox woman showing the values of Orthodox matchmaking, shidduchim, and bringing that to the secular Jewish community. And there's, I think, huge value in that.
And the other thing to note is that it was not meant to bring Orthodox values at the same level for everybody. It was meant to say, we have a tradition. It's very rich. Here's the foundation of what that tradition is. And if we use that as a baseline, how can we modify that to be something that is appropriate for anybody at any level? And so I do throw in these different challenges, but they're all modified. But like you said, it's all based in Jewish wisdom and based in Torah, but at a level that somebody can handle, because I just don't think it's appropriate to, I'm going to say, shove Judaism down somebody's throat who's holding in a very different place. I think it's very nice to have Judaism that is accessible and enticing and warm and engaging and going, oh, I'm curious now, I want to know more. Oh, I could try this. Let me take a baby step. Let me take something that's comfortable for me and see if that is something that resonates with me. And if it's not, I'm also okay to say no judgment, right? Like, here's the Aleeza suggestion. Try it this way. Oh, no? Okay, we'll back off. We'll go at your pace. Yeah. So I think something that really doesn't normally happen. I did get a little bit of feedback, like, you're not, you don't, wave your finger at them enough. You're too accepting. I said, you know what? Thank you. That should be my biggest criticism. I should be too accepting. Right. I should just love everybody, accept who they are, and help them grow at their pace. That I think that that's the most beautiful thing anybody could do. If you think about like a workout, right? Don't push me at your pace. You have to go at my pace or my muscles don't work. It works the same way with Judaism. Move at somebody's pace, introduce things, show them, share, let them connect to what makes sense to them. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't work, try something else or just back off.
I hope you're looking at the comments. Rachel's photography. My mom and I binge watched your show. My mom hates watching TV. I mean, your non-judgmentalism came through so much, but not only in the Jewish stuff. When you were like, forgive me, I don't remember whose name was who, but like, okay, so I just want to get this right. You want blue eyes. Like that is a game changer for you. And you just like kept your mouth shut. Like no judgment. I think that's just beautiful.
For me also, I stretched, like I gave him somebody beautiful, Israeli, Hebrew speaking, right? And then it's like, no, it's still a no. Like for sure, just for that, it's a no. And he said, correct, that's a no. So then I'm only going to bring him what he wants, or the show could have gone very differently. And this almost happened. Nobody knows. But what you would have seen at the very end, instead of that date that he had with somebody who did have light hair and blue eyes, you would have seen me saying to him, listen, here, no, no, no. Okay, I don't have anybody for you. I'll go back to the drawing board. That was going to be a possible ending to his story.
Interesting.
Not found what we were looking for. And I said to the producers, I was like, wait, we're not even going to do a date. They said, we're going to do what really happens in real life. I said, okay, great. That's exactly what I would do. I would go on the lookout and find what this person wanted. If I couldn't find it, I'd say, great, I'll come back to you later. 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, I don't know. But I'm not going to give you something you don't want if you have no flex. I'm only going to give you what you want, or I'm going to give you nothing and we'll just wait.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so let's just get back to our topic in terms of representation. So we were discussing before how, like, really up until this point, there's been a lot of negativity. Often we see stories of people who left Orthodoxy and now they've come back to tell their story. So when people don't know much about Orthodox Judaism, they see these representations on screen. We're talking about My Unorthodox Life. We're talking about Unorthodox are the two most famous examples. And these are like the reliable storytellers. And we're listening, we're like, oh, okay, so you're telling me Orthodox women can't ride bikes, so that must be true. That person then becomes sort of the spokesperson of Orthodoxy, the one who left and who has a lot of gripes and a lot of pain and a lot of trauma. So now, Yelena, you're talking about we need positivity. So here's my question for you. I want to know what positivity means to you, in the sense, does that mean that, you know, we should be displaying and representing perfect Orthodox Jews? Is there room for showing like vulnerability and struggle, or how do you define positive representation? Because that's something we really try to do on Faces of Orthodoxy, is show the whole person, show whatever vulnerability they're willing to go public on and show on the account. I'm curious what you mean by positivity in terms of that perfection issue.
Right. So firstly, I want to like differentiate between scripted content and unscripted content. With an exception of Aleeza's show, I find that like unscripted content is like a loose cannon. Like you don't know. Right?
Reality TV, right?
Reality TV, you can't control what comes out. Yes, you can control it in the editing room and post-production, but if there's not, if an Orthodox Jewish producer editor is sitting right there in front of the monitors and vetting every single cut to make sure that it tells a positive story, then it's sort of like we can't control it. So I'm a little bit of a mindset that Orthodox Jews should be writing the content. I know it's going to sound a little bit controversial, but if you're producing Orthodox content, it should be written and produced and edited by Orthodox Jews. At least one sitting there, like Aleeza hired an Orthodox producer on her show. She made sure that's like the number one thing, right? The number one she hired.
I didn't hire, they hired, but they asked for recommendations who we would give, and they were willing to bring on an Orthodox producer. But it's because IPC, the production company, was invested in telling a more documentary style reality show. So if you're not invested in that, it just doesn't matter. But if you are invested, then you want somebody who is Orthodox to be able to make sure that what they represent is accurate.
Right. So that producer was on set, making sure that everything was done according to like. They
kind of gave like the kosher stamp of
approval. I love that.
And behind the
scenes. Afterwards, she also watched through the edited version and made sure that everything that that they have on is appropriate. And I'm sure that there were things that were cut out based on her, feedback. But I think that's important, because you can't have non-Orthodox Jews knowing what is truth, what is authentic, and what is not. Like it's impossible. It's kind of like, it's just,
it's not accurate if you don't have the right people looking at it. I would say the same thing for any other type of content. If you look at Indian matchmaking, which is kind of the brainchild of our show and the branding of it, they had Indian producers and people on set to verify that all of this was accurate. It's the same thing across the board. So we're not asking for anything special or unique.
Right.
Community. It's just what you would do for any community that you wanted to fairly represent. You'd bring in the right people to represent them.
So I just want to make a few comments about like content that is being produced by, say, ex-Orthodox people.
They don't want to have the kosher.
They don't.
Orthodox, because that's not the story.
They have every right to tell their story how they want to tell it based on their experiences. We can't control them and what they put out into the world, because there are many, you know, diverse people and their experiences, and they want to tell their story. And if they have money and if they have you know, the talent to write the scripts and hire the people to produce them, I think that they have every right to put it out there. But I guess what I'm asking the film industry in general is that, like, think about what it's going to do to the Orthodox community. Like, you have to think about your responsibility as a filmmaker. Like, are you just doing it for the bottom line, just to make money, or are you doing it to really be a kiddush Hashem to the world, like, and help us help our crisis, which is anti-Semitism? So I think, like, it's a responsibility. Bottom line is, I feel like as filmmakers, script writers, producers, distributors, network executives, editors, all of the whole crew and the whole team has to feel a sense of responsibility to put out content about Jews in general. I think not just Orthodox Jews, but Jews in general, that is positive. Like, yes, we can show different struggles and nuances within the story, but overall we need to walk out, or when we, like, you know, when the credits start rolling, we need to have a good feeling about what we just saw. And
I think you would probably say the same thing also about anybody from any background. I think we're asking,
100%.
Look, in the news and media, what do we normally see? We see the crises, we see the problems with anybody, anywhere. And it's just not an uplifting thing for the whole world. It doesn't make us as individuals better, and it doesn't make our communities better. And it's a one-sided picture of what's happening in the world. And if we start to see, and when we start to see more positive things and a more varied light and not just a negative slant, which is news, media, and all of those things, then we're going to understand the world from a different place, and we can change the world. And I think that this, you know, I know this is Faces of Orthodoxy, and we're hyper-focusing on Orthodoxy, but I also want to say, I would say the same thing for the Christian, Muslim, Hindu marketplace, for anybody. I want to see more positive media. I want to see more representations that aren't just like, oh, shocking. You go in and you're like, oh my gosh, right? That's not, I don't want to walk away from every film or every show with that kind of feeling. I would rather go, oh, that's so interesting. Oh, that was fun. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I learned something. I'd rather it come from an educational or playful or interesting, or like, let me get curious about you, and not just have like the shock factor of the terrible things that happen across any community. I think that people, we would benefit from kind of good news and good shows. Why are there's such crazy things happening in the world, and why are there negative things happening in the world? How many violent types of shows do you actually see? Across the board. And I think if we come back to the root of it, we're asking for that to be done with our people in our community. And if we start here, then we'll have a ripple effect, and in 5-10 years, something different will happen.
Yeah, I mean, Aleeza, what you've done is revolutionary. I just want to shout out to this very interesting comment on the chat. There's no representation of average mainstream Orthodox people on TV, as opposed to Muslim representation, like regular people with regular jobs. So, like, you know, the office coworker who's wearing a yarmulke, like, that's really, really interesting. When are we going to get into the space that we're just like the friend, you know, who just happens to be Orthodox being shown on screen? Aleeza, do you think you were sort of like that foil to Julia Hart? Like, Netflix now, like Yelena, you were saying it can't only be the people who are telling their stories who have left. Do you think Netflix made an attempt to actually now show a positive example of a happy, fulfilled Orthodox Jewish woman, and that was you?
So I don't know what their goal was. I did say to them, listen, you know, like, I am a little bit nervous to do this. We don't have such positive representation of Jews yet on Netflix. And like, when is that going to happen? And they're like, oh, thank you for volunteering. You know, you're going to be the positive representation.
That's great.
did they intend for that to be balanced out with the rest of their content? I don't know.
Yeah.
I personally just, I don't have, also just to pure Aleeza, don't have a judgment against Julia Hart. I think that she did what she needed to do to represent who she was in the world and what was going on for her. And equally, as I'm representing who I am, she did what, you know, is who she is. And yes, there is a balance that is happening because of that, because you see different sides. And so some people can say, well, great. Well, now I see somebody who's in, who loves it. And I came from a secular background and bought in, and she came from a religious background and bought out. So yes, on one spectrum, you could say, wow, look, that really kind of balances it out.
It does,
but
yeah.
I don't know what their goals are.
Right.
My goal was just to be who I am, to do what I do. And like you said, to be a light unto the nations.
But this is the first step. I feel like her show is the first step, because the balance is like, you know, like this. There was all negative.
Yeah.
Nothing
I do have
positive.
to say, I'm curious what you think about Shtisel. I think Shtisel, and again, you know, producing and so on everything, but I think that was a great, not perfect, but a great example of.
It was balanced.
It was.
But I want to make a comment about Shtisel. I thought it was one of the greatest shows about Orthodoxy. It didn't have the same viewership as something that comes directly from original Netflix production, meaning like, we all watched it because, you know, we speak Hebrew, we understand, like, it's like, we know, like, we want to see that content. But in general, I don't know that like millions of people watched it per se, you know, across how many.
It wasn't.
I thought it did I thought it was very well received by the secular community.
Very well received. I feel like it wasn't the same type of viewership, global viewership, the way that Aleeza.
I'd be curious to know how much of the world connected to the content.
But it wasn't,
because if it was the same thing but in English, you might get a higher viewership.
Yes, I see.
Hebrew was incredible, the authentic, and Yiddish and everything that was in it, but I think it does only attract a certain type of audience. And when you do have English and you want to reach, you know, a broader audience, I think you can do that in a different way. But I think that the representation was phenomenal. I think that it was very balanced, it didn't just show like, oh, happily ever after. It showed the true challenges that people have through a scripted program. But I was very happy to see that.
It was
That's good. I was curious your thoughts. Okay, so we're going to wrap up talking about our dreams and plans for the future. I know, Yelena, you have some things that you've got some big plans for how you want Orthodox Jews to be represented on screen and projects. We're going to start with Aleeza and answer the question everyone's wanting to know, like season 2. I mean, that's like the obvious next step for you. What's the deal? How do we know? Do you know? Give us the scoop.
Okay. So we don't know yet. I'm still waiting to hear. They base everything on numbers. So if the rule goes like this, everybody's like, oh, I'll vote. Give me a place to vote. I said, yeah, the place to vote is on your Netflix account, 1 to 8. You watch episodes 1 to 8, all of season 1, and they go, wow, you like that show. But if you watch 1 episode or 2, they're like, we didn't hold your interest. If you're like, no, but I was busy. I didn't get to watch the rest of it. Like, okay, great. Well, Netflix thinks you don't like it enough.
Right.
The only way to get us a season 2 is to have everybody watch episode 1 to 8. I'm, waiting with bated breath to see what will happen, what's coming next. I will also say I will not be surprised at all if there's no season 2, because it's very hard to get good content renewed. Challenging content, conflicting content, immediately you're going to get a season 2. We know all the other shows got season 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s, right? Good content probably gets canceled. That's usually what happens. So I would not, I'm sorry to say, but it's just honest and real.
Like positive content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course it's not going to. Why would it make it? Good news doesn't travel fast. Positive news does not travel far enough, fast enough, or wide enough. So I would be shocked if we had a season 2. To be honest, I would be shocked because I think the show was phenomenal. I think there's a range of people that watched it and loved it. Do I think that as many people watched my show as watched other shows that got renewed? Probably not, because it is not negative enough. It's not controversial enough.
Yeah.
And it doesn't show like the angry side of things. It shows the happy side of things. And people don't like happily ever after, believe it or not. They pray for happily ever after. They think about happily ever after, and they watch shows never about happily ever after.
Right. There's no blood on your show.
Right.
What's the deal with Indian matchmaking? How many seasons is that?
They have 3 seasons. They had 1. they got renewed and had 2 and 3, and 3 just came out just before our show, and we are waiting to hear if they'll have a 4.
So Aleeza, I should give you a bracha, since Aleeza bracha likes to give a blessing to everyone. She even gave one at the end of her show that season 2 should be renewed for Jewish matchmaking. You continue to shine your light and teach the world about Jewish values and be your bright, shiny self to the rest of the world and positively represent Orthodox women and Jews everywhere. Okay.
Amen.
Yelena. Amen. Yelena, what are your goals? What are your plans for the future?
So I do believe that we have this platform, which is streaming platform, to use it as a teachable moment for the world. So like, I think that we need to utilize it to our benefit. We need to put out content on those streaming platforms that teaches people about Jews and Orthodoxy. And we need to speak the language that everybody is attracted to, which is like, talks through comedy, through love stories, through genres that everybody kind of relates to and is attracted to. So that's why like dating shows, the reality dating shows, are so attractive to viewers globally because they can relate to it. It's like, it's not complicated. There's no like, deep, meaningful, content. It's just like, they can just binge it, the whole. So I think we need more of that. We need more shows. I think in general, people are gravitating more towards shows versus movies. It's been, I would say, the past decade, maybe, or maybe like even during COVID, people like something to look forward to, something that continues. A movie just is, 90 minutes and then it's over, but they want something that they can like look forward to, maybe 1 episode to 2 episodes a night. So I think we need more shows. In my opinion, we need more scripted content just so we can control the content.
Right.
But we need something that's like lighthearted comedy,
I'm working on comedy, so we can do something together.
Aleeza is so funny. I saw her on stage. I'm like, okay, she is the next Mrs. Maisels. Like stand-up quality.
Right. Right. The Orthodox Jewish matchmaker, Mrs. Maisels. Yes. But kosher.
Oh my gosh, this is the next show.
I'm telling you. Like, this is her.
Totally.
Amazing.
Totally.
So yeah, I mean, that's what I feel is the next step in showing Orthodox representation in Hollywood is putting out content that is like lighthearted. Talking to people in the way that they like it and can relate to it.
Interesting. So what about like more documentary style, Ken Burns, like real life of Orthodox Jews? So you're saying that's not really what people want. People want more relatable, real life content.
Documentary as like a word documentary is also misunderstood. People call something documentary and then it's really like just live TV or like reality TV. If you're really doing a real documentary that's like scripted or docudrama, I think that's great. But
I don't think it's exciting or
it's
I don't
not.
think the world's
Right.
No, that's not what they're going to
like the world
onto. They're going to
has changed.
Yeah. So something reality or something scripted.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I do think that if there's a story worth telling and you have to do it through documentary style storytelling, then you should definitely go for it. But it has to have something like that captivates the audience, which is doable. Yeah.
And you have to have people who are willing to put themselves out there and share their stories and be on the camera and have their families on the camera. And understandably, so many Orthodox Jews feel a certain, discomfort with that.
Yeah. I'm hoping that my representation, people go, see, it can be done. So they're maybe a little less afraid, but you do have to have the right people on board to get the results that you're hoping for, because it is a huge.
Yeah, Aleeza, your kids weren't on the show, right? It was just your husband.
I know a couple of my kids were. One got out, he wasn't on, and he was a little sad.
Oh, that's cute.
And my daughter.
But it's not like they're being interviewed. You know what I mean? Like there's background shots of them. So yeah. Wow. Aleeza, any wrap up besides season 2? Some dreams that you have for continued representation on TV and the movies?
So the way that we're doing right now, this live matchmaking show, which gives a little of my backstory so you learn, but through a humorous lens, and then actually bringing people up live and doing matchmaking and teaching the audience how to be matchmakers and
that's awesome.
training as matchmaking. So I do want to see that taken to a very high level and kind of integrated and incorporated. It could be with a season 2. It could be with its own kind of docu-reality series or something. I don't know. But this is, even if this doesn't continue, I mean, please God, it should continue with the season 2. Yeah. But should it not, this isn't the end of the road. This is just the beginning, and we're going to have
Amazing.
Awesome. Beautiful. You are traveling to different cities like every day, right? This month?
This is the last of 10 cities, and it's like, 4 or 5 shows a week, and I have like somewhere between 11 to 23 hours in a city. It's crazy.
I have.
And are you
How do you do it? She's like, I don't know.
I'm so happy. No, I'm so.
It's like she's like in her zone.
I agree. I don't mind traveling at all. Planes don't bother me. Going through the airport, I got TSA pre-check, global entry. I zoom right through the lines. It's like not a big deal. If I'm sitting somewhere, I'm working. If I'm on a plane and I have Wi-Fi, I'm working. If I'm not, I'm sleeping. It bothers me not at all.
Believable.
The only hard thing is just being away from the family. Other than being away from the family, it's fantastic. And I get to see my friends in all the different communities.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Yeah, it's like all the people that you don't normally, like I moved to Israel, so I'm never going to see them again. And now I'm like, hi, I'm coming to Miami. Hi, I'll be in Atlanta.
I'm just like, you are so born for this, because Yelena and I were discussing before, like if for me, I would be dead. Like I physically would not be able to have the stamina. Like you were meant to be on the road. What's next? Are you going back home to
I'm going home for a couple weeks, like 6-ish, and then we've got South America with Chile and Argentina, the States, and then the end of August we have Australia, and also back to the States.
I want her to take me with her.
We're flying.
Yelena will be your producer, like right? She can do it. Well, ladies, this was such a thrill. Thank you so much for making the time. Aleeza, I know you're super busy. Yelena, you're super busy with your company. Thanks for chatting with me. Both of you, thank you for being featured on Faces of Orthodoxy. It's been such a highlight of our account, and you should both have continued success in the unique work that you do, as we use this term, to make a Kiddush Hashem, to be a light into the nations. And thank you for being yourselves and doing the awesome work that you do every single day.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.